Okay, so I know in the last video I just made, the only video I've made, I said that it really wasn't important to say certain things or come out and speak on certain things. But I do think at this point that maybe it is important to ask a few questions. So I'm going to ask those. As we all know, there's a lot going on in Suzanne Morphew's case. The investigation, private people investigating, law enforcement investigating, and it poses some questions for me. So I've loosely said that, I've seen and heard and done a lot of things in this case that a lot of people won't ever really know about. It's hard for me to talk about some of these things. When it comes to the FBI and the CBI and what all they've done and not done, and the prosecutors and what all they've done and not done, there's a few things that really, really, really stick out in my mind. First and foremost, I'm going to say, at this point, and I've felt this way since the first hearing after Barry got arrested, when basically Suzanne was put on trial for having an affair. And I had hoped that that wasn't the course that they were taking. I had hoped that they were just bringing that out to get it done and over with and out in the open, so they could present the rest of the facts of the case that were important, right? And that didn't really seem to happen. It kind of took the other direction, and that was really disappointing. But one of the things that I thought immediately was, they don't have enough to bring this case against Barry and to win it. There's a lot lacking, right? So if we want justice for Suzanne, I really feel like this needs to be dropped for now. Not like the entire case, but the charges against Barry, they need to be dropped without prejudice, so that he can be be brought to justice if and when Suzanne's found. I fully believe that Barry is responsible and the only one responsible for Suzanne's disappearance. But it seems he's got his ass covered pretty well. I think there's some good reasons for that, and I think that there's a lot of things that maybe might be loosely public knowledge, but not necessarily public knowledge, and some that really aren't public knowledge at all. Two of the scariest, most telling things that I've heard personally over the course of the last almost 2 years is a statement from someone who knows Barry very well, and And a question was posed if someone would have told Barry that they had certain visitors, right? And the answer to that was a man in Barry's position would have already known, so they wouldn't have had an opportunity or the option to not say anything. Like, basically, if you were smart, you would tell him yourself because he already knew, right? He would have had eyes watching. He would have definitely known who was around, right? For me, that was confirmation, because I had been saying this whole time that, in my opinion, Barry has to be connected, very well connected. And one of the other things that I had heard was the FBI was talking to each other in the presence of a witness, and the statement was made, oh, CDF is reaching far with this one. That witness didn't know what CDF stood for, but I believe I have a pretty good idea of what CDF stands for, and in my opinion, that's Colorado Defense Force, which is Colorado's state-backed militia. Now, on the surface, I think that's pretty telling. And scary. There's no doubt. So my initial opinion of that was, well, if the FBI and the CBI knows that there's a connection here, then we need to let them do their job, right? But it seems like that job really isn't being done. What it seems like is that there's an impression of them doing their job, but when it comes down to it, we're finding out that really they're not seemingly doing their job, right? A lot of things have gone to the wayside. A lot of things have been pushed back. A lot of things have not been followed and carried through on. And why? Why is that, right? I think everybody's always going to have their own opinion. My opinion is that Barry is connected and he's been protected this whole time. I could be totally wrong on that. I don't know. It's just the way I feel about it. So a lot of you will know that I actually went to Salida, and I was unable to stay because I got really sick. I feel like there's a really good possibility that I was actually drugged and taken out of that search intentionally. The person who, after I left, led the search and like the places to go, the spots to look at, is a person who had actually just gotten out of prison in January, extremely early, and he was in prison for construction fraud and owes over $500,000 in restitution. He now lives in a over $500,000 house that overlooks one of the very key points of interest in this entire investigation, and is now a Chaffee County firefighter. Uh, how? Why? What? How's that happen? Uh, I've heard it posed that he got out of prison because of COVID, and I will tell you that after looking into that, I don't believe that reason to be true. I believe that it was too early when he got out of prison. Like, COVID wasn't really a thing. They weren't releasing people because of COVID at that point in time yet. It was the very, very, very beginning of COVID coming to surface in the media and being a thing. So I just don't buy that. I've never figured out how or why he got out of prison so early. Yeah. So, and then how he came to Chaffee County and then became part of that search party, right? And a very crucial part of that search party. He was up in it the entire time, side by side with Andy pretty much the entire time. And then I look at a particular YouTube channel who created their online presence just days after Suzanne went missing, and then extremely quickly grew into the largest true crime channel out there at a very professional level, which was weird to me from the first video I saw. And then one of the people on that channel just happens to be friends with probably the most connected patriot in the state of Colorado. And then him and his dog get side by side with Andy as Andy's overwatch through the search. And then him and his bestie just happen to roll up into Chaffee County and be permanent fixtures there now. And then, well, let's see. So then about 50% of Chaffee County's emergency medical and first responders can be connected back to militia ties. And it's just all a bunch of very weird coincidences. So, and people like that particular person in the search, that has been reported to the FBI. Not only to the FBI, but to Cahill. And nothing's ever happened that we know of. Nothing's ever come of it. Nothing's been said. Nothing's been done. He's just carried on and continued ticking up his standing in the community. How? Why? I don't know how, and I don't know why. But I do know that I don't believe in that many coincidences. That particular YouTube channel, I've dealt with one of them personally a couple of times since before I went to Saletta. It wasn't fun by any means. It was a bunch of questions like why would you say that? Why would you do that? Why would you act in that manner? You're supposed to be a professional. But again, how is he connected to these patriots? How is he connected to all of this? How did they decide to just start their channel and jump out the gate like that? I don't know. It's things like this that I'm talking about when I say things like, y'all don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know just how scary these people are and how deep this goes. Y'all don't realize, right? You just send these people money and give them all this credit. And everybody out here can say and do whatever they want and tell you anything that they want you to hear. But if you're not really paying attention, then you don't really know, right? And even if you are paying attention, a lot of times you don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I'm still figuring out and I'm still piecing together and I'm still trying to make sense of. And I don't have it all figured out. I don't know if I ever will. But I know that my gut instinct this whole time has been that there's some seriously shady things going on. And it's in Barry's benefit. And if the prosecution really, really, really wants to bring justice to Suzanne, they will drop this case. Work on it, work your leads, find your info, and by all means, for God's sake, look for Suzanne, right? Because that's not happening. The only people that I see out there actually looking for Suzanne are private individuals. Why did it take so long for the FBI and the CBI and law enforcement to go dig up video? Right? Like, why? Why would that be a thing? You should have been on that, like, the very next day. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I believe that they probably do know where Barry was, and they've got a really good sense of where he's been and who he's been around, and I think that there was a lot of opportunity there to follow that a whole lot closer than it was. And there is no good reason why it wasn't, in my opinion. Look, this is just my opinion. I don't have a law enforcement background. I don't want a law enforcement background. But I'm not just any dumb fool either. I've been screwed around and screwed with a lot over the last almost 2 years. Just on this Suzanne Morphew case alone. It doesn't count anything else, right? It's time for it to stop. It's time for the foolery to stop. It's time to get down to business and do the right thing. And number one on that priority list is to find Suzanne. She deserves to come home. Her family deserves to have her be able to be at peace. This needs to stop. I don't understand why any of these things have happened. I don't understand why people would protect any of it. I really don't. Like, on one hand, I guess I get it, but on the other, like, if Barry didn't have anything to do with Suzanne's disappearance, why isn't he trying to find her? If Barry didn't have anything to do with Suzanne's disappearance, then why all the fuckery? What's the point? I don't know. I don't get it. But, again, I think that these are important questions and important things to know. And things to keep in mind when you're looking at these things. I think it's crucial. I've always thought it was crucial. I've just really kept my mouth shut. And I've done that for a lot of various reasons, but mostly because I didn't want to screw up an investigation. And I still don't. But this investigation is screwed already, and it's only getting worse as we see, and the more we find out. Find Suzanne.